Hello everybody, today I'm going to be building Walter White's house from Breaking Bad. If you're one of the very few people that has not seen Breaking Bad through to the end, then I would recommend putting this on mute because I don't know how many spoilers I'm going to end up giving, to be honest. And I would just put some music on or something if you haven't seen Breaking Bad. But if you have, then stick around for the voiceover because I will be talking about the show. I've seen it like 3 or 4 times now, and I love it every single time, but my partner Alex hadn't seen it, so we literally just finished watching it together last night. And I was watching it thinking, this would actually be really fun to build on The Sims. Obviously Alex was sat there reeling over the plot twists and stuff, and I'm just like, trying to get a good look at the lamps in the background. So today, that's what I'm doing. It turned out to be a little bit more complicated than I thought, given that it is a massive square with a horrible, the roof was just a nightmare because it's just really flat, and it doesn't look good on The Sims. This is not a pretty build, unfortunately, but it is, I would say, relatively accurate. I was quite happy with some of the details that I was able to get in there. I had to have episodes on in the background as I recorded this, just to check that I was getting things right. Because I was watching it on Netflix, you can't take screenshots because of copyright and whatnot, so I had to pause it and just have it on a different screen and just keep staring at the background as I was doing this, and it was a whole thing, but it was really fun. It took me about 8 or 9 hours to do in the end. A lot of it I had to cut out because it was me traipsing through episodes. And the problem with The Sims is there's no perfect lot size. You can't do a custom lot size, which is a nightmare. So I did a test run on a 40 by 30 lot, and it just did not work at all. It wasn't long enough, and so I did it on a 50 by 50 lot. This is actually the land grabs house on Sims 4. And it was long enough, it was the perfect length, but it was far too wide, so there's quite a lot of space on either side of the house. So you'll see later that I end up building a shell of another house next to it just to make it look more complete. Yeah, it was really frustrating that the lot wasn't quite the right size, but we got there, and at least it was correct lengthwise, and I was able to get some foliage in the background and whatnot, which was nice. So you can see me building the shell here, and this is where I discovered that actually the size and shape of the White House is awful. It's a really ugly house, and I'm sorry if you're American, but it's very American style, with kind of old-fashioned-y sort of patterned wallpaper and curtains that when I lived in the US I saw a lot of that, and that's not an aesthetic that you see often in the UK. So it was an interesting experience to build like that on The Sims, because usually, my rooms have accent colours, so our living room has a mustard accent and the bedroom has a red accent, and you don't really get patterned curtains that don't match. Everything matches, I would say. That's how me and my partner decorate. So yeah, it was an interesting build for sure. I can see me doing the swimming pool, the infamous swimming pool, and then I had some trouble with the landscaping in the back because there is this big raised gravel pit thing in Breaking Bad, but obviously terrain paint doesn't work on big mounds, so I had to make it more reasonable sized. And then here's me doing the shell, because it looked too weird and empty otherwise, and you needed the side gate connecting to the other house, so that's why I ended up doing that. I just love Breaking Bad. It is one of my favourite TV shows of all time. Game of Thrones is probably still my favourite, and that's only because of what it could have been, and also because I love the books. But Breaking Bad is probably my second favourite, because it just does what Game of Thrones could never, which is give you a satisfying ending. And El Camino, which we are watching tonight because we finished Breaking Bad last night. Oh god, what a stunning film. I absolutely love it. But every time I watch it, I hate Walt Moore. He's trash. I don't get the people that cheer for him and go and are glad that he gets away with the things that he gets away with. He's a horrible, just sleazy, lying dick. He's such a dick, and every time I watch I feel more empathy for Jesse. I feel a lot more empathy for Skylar. I think as I get older, as a woman as well, I empathize with her a lot. She's an abused woman. she's a good character. I mean, sometimes she can be naggy, particularly at the beginning, but her husband keeps going missing and then ends up cooking meth. I think I would nag as well. She's a good character though, and the way that the actress plays her, and you can really see her fear. She's a really good character. Alex is every episode that we watch, he'd be like, how can anyone watch this and hate Skylar? How can anyone watch this and think Walt's the good guy? It's like, yeah, totally. Walt is clearly not a good guy. He's terrible. Jesse is obviously the protagonist. I love Jesse. He's a wonderful character. And yeah, every time I watch it, I adore him more, and El Camino makes me cry a lot. I'm actually not looking forward to watching it tonight, because then I will cry in front of Alex and he will mock me, which is not what we're here for. The landscaping was interesting. Like, as you can see me like desperately trying to incorporate the mountains in without getting rid of the terrain paint, and I think I managed it in the end. And then the backyard, I stacked some chairs. I was quite proud of myself how I managed to do that. And I really tried to get all of the little bits and bobs that they've got in their yard out there. So, you know, I tried to put I put the wind chime on. I know they've got like loads of ivy and stuff, but it's never really clear in the show whereabouts that is. So I sort of put it on these empty walls, otherwise they'd look really bad. And then they've got little bits and bobs on the wall over there. So I put like some little stone things from Jungle Adventure. Thought that worked relatively well. And they have like vines and stuff all up on there. Oh, God, I don't even know, like that covering bit, that wood covering bit. I don't know what it's called. A canopy maybe. So I managed to put some on there, just about, but it took me a while to figure out how to do that. And then the garage, of course, we don't have garages or cars, functioning cars on Sims. So, yeah, I had to be quite inventive with that, so I just put some panelling on there. I do actually revise that later, because I misremembered they don't have windows on their garage, so I end up getting rid of the windows. But I was pretty proud of that for an on-the-fly job, and here's me just putting some more stuff on the wall. Yeah, the landscaping took a while. It was definitely the longest part of the process, because I'm not a good landscaper, but at least I had something to base it off. I think it looks all right. Like, it looks accurate. Like, as I say, it's not a pretty build, because it's not a pretty house that it's based on. It is a real house, so it's not gorgeous, let's be honest, but it is realistic. So, you know, I'm proud of myself for getting it right, at least. And then the horrible furniture that they have inside, it just doesnn't match at all, and it upsets me. And I tried to get it as accurately as I could on The Sims. I really wanted to renovate it, like a better version of the White Residence, but nope, I kept it accurate with those awful green room dividers and the horrible green sofa and the awful choice in armchairs and carpets. And oh no, it's not for me. It's quite painful doing this, but... And then that big basket of blankets that they have over there. Yeah, I tried to incorporate as much detail as possible within the limits of blurry screenshots, basically, because that's all I had. The fireplace was a bit of a struggle, because they've got like some stone shelves that come off of their fireplace. So I wanted the fireplace to match the shelves as it does in the show, but obviously we don't have that option in Sims, so I just built a wall and put a fireplace on it, and then built the shelves and used a table as a shelf in the wall. So that's obviously a half wall there, so I used some tables to get a shelving effect, which I think is okay. Like, it's not ideal, but you know, we are talking about The Sims 4 here, so you know, it's not as it's quite restrictive, let's be honest. The kitchen I was particularly proud of. I think I absolutely nailed the kitchen, I have to say. When I get to that, the counters, we have counters that are exactly the same as Walt and Skylar's counters in Sims 4. So that was a godsend, and I loved it. So, talking of Breaking Bad, like, the ending is just perfect, isn't it? Let's talk about the ending for a second. It has, and this is mostly a criticism of the Game of Thrones writers, because they could never, so you never know if they ever see this, like, they did Breaking Bad managed to pull that perfect balance of telling us what happened, but leaving us wondering about certain things, like, so we know that Skylar ends up in, like, a crappy little house, condo-y thing, being sad and whatnot, and that she's dealing with the DA and all that, but we never actually know how that turns out for her. We get an indication that she might get off free. We know that Walt's kids get the money that Walt made, but they are emotionally, well, Holly maybe less so, but Walt Jr. for sure is emotionally scarred. He's going to have problems for the rest of his life. We obviously know that Jesse gets away, and obviously we have El Camino, but in the 7 years between the end of Breaking Bad and El Camino, God, I thought about it often. It kept me awake, and like, what's Jesse doing now? Is he working as a box maker, like in that little dream sequence in, I think it's the final episode, or is it Granite State? It's either Granite State or Felina. Is that what he's doing? Is that like almost a hint? And then obviously we got El Camino years later, and it was great and everything. So it just gives us that perfect balance. And obviously we know that Walt died, but there was always a little bit of doubt as to what he might have survived that gunshot wound and all that. And it's just a really perfect ending that gives you enough information, but also gives you enough to think about. Game of Thrones could never. It's just, I love it. I love Breaking Bad. I will sing its praises. And, you know, I don't get these people that insist that, oh, Breaking Bad can't be as good as people say it is, or everyone likes Breaking Bad, so I've never seen it. It's like, get over yourself. It's an amazing show, and you should watch it. The reason it was sometimes things are popular because they're good. And I just have to stress that. Like, just because something is popular, it doesn't mean it's bad. Like, for example, pumpkin spice lattes, they're actually really delicious. Like, you can mock people for being basic for liking them, but, like, they're really nice. Breaking Bad is an excellent show, and you can't mock people for liking it, because it's legitimately so good. There's a reason that everyone likes it, because you can just look at it face value and go, this is a really cool show about a guy who does things. Or you can look at it on more of a... you can analyse it more, you can look at it more deeply, and then it's enjoyable. And there's so many ways for you to enjoy Breaking Bad. Anyway, I mean, if you're listening to this voiceover, you've seen Breaking Bad, so I probably don't need to convince you. But it is such a good show. Also, can I say, Walt and Skylar's bedroom is so ugly. I hate that wallpaper. I hate it so much. It's gross. And the curtains, the fact they have the same curtains around the whole house just makes me sad, but it's okay. We don't often get a look into Walt Jr.'s bedroom, so I did have to piece together a lot of it from 2 screenshots that I had of him at the computer on the Save Walter White website. But, you know, from what I gathered, he had quite a lot of posters around the room, and he had his PC, obviously, and then his bed's kind of, like, diagonal to his PC, and then he has cupboards, like in Holly's room. Holly's room I focused on the least, because we have really inconsistent shots. Like, it changes a lot throughout the show. Like, it's used for different purposes at the beginning while it's exercising in it, and then in another episode, Skylar's storing spare clothes in there, and it's just like, yeah, so I just put the absolute bare minimum in there, especially because we don't have a lot for kids in Sims, so I just left it quite cute. You know, whatever. I did want to put like the little vent thing that Walt initially keeps his money in, but I couldn't find it in debug. I don't know if we actually have one, and I couldn't be bothered. For the garage, I just put clutter around it, obviously the washing machine and dryer, where Walt stores his money behind for a period of time, and then to the rest of it I just put generic sort of cluttery stuff in, but we don't really get like an accurate shot of what is being kept in the garage necessarily. It's just like tables and boxes and stuff like that. We know for sure that cars aren't being stored in there, so yeah. So at this point I was just like, do you know what, we don't have enough information, so I'll just sort of blag it. But I think aside from the garage and the storage cupboard, we don't have that much. But yeah, I think it was accurate. I loved doing it. It was so fun. I tried to put a pizza on the roof here, but obviously that didn't go very well because Sims angles. But I freaking tried, okay? I tried to put a pizza on the roof. And finally, this house is weird because it only has 1 bathroom. Fight me. Let me know what you think. Like and subscribe. Love you very much. Bye.